Okay. Well, today I have a kind of a short time to tell you about a really big project, so I'm going to kind of speed through it and gloss over some things. We'll go a little bit more in depth with some of our other speakers on some of these issues, so don't panic. Value outcomes and return on investment of academic libraries, or Lib-Value as we call it, is a 3-year study. It's funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And it started in December of 2009. It's going to go through November of 2012. So we are just now 6 months into it and starting to hit our stride. And we have a great management team for this project. Our lead principal investigator is Carol Tenneper of the University of Tennessee, and Paula Kaufman, who is with us today of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, is also a co-PI on this. And we have a lot of experience and some great people working with us. We also benefit from an advisory board of some noted ROI and value researchers. We've got a couple of directors of academic libraries, some economists, and some well-known consultants who are very experienced in this area. So Lib-Value is considered the third phase in a study that has been ongoing for a while. The first phase was a case study at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and that was overseen by Paula Kaufman. It was led by Judy Luther of Informed Strategies and funded by Elsevier. And the genesis for this case study was the observation that even though libraries are spending more money on services and resources and providing services, the perception of the user of the value of the library seems to have gone down. And so they wanted to find a way to express in some concrete economic terms the value of the library. And so they decided to look at grants. So what they did was they took some data from the library budget and grants income, and they did a faculty survey to tie in the faculty's use of the library in securing references and citations in the grants process, from the grant proposal through the final report and publication of attendant articles, and saw what was the value that the library provided. And they found, and this is a really nutshell kind of summation, but they found, they developed a formula, and they found a return of a little bit over 4 to 1 from the total library budget in grants income alone. That was the start. Now, phase 2, they decided to expand this to 8 different institutions in 8 different countries, and you can see where all of those countries are located here. And they modified the formula a little bit and applied it, and they found that in 6 out of the 8 institutions, there was a return on investment of greater than 1 to 1. It was as high as a little bit over 15 to 1, and as low as a little bit less than 1 to 1. And the differences there had to do with teaching-focused institutions as opposed to research-focused institutions, and the sciences heavy versus humanities heavy, and also the availability of external grant funding, which varied, and particularly in different countries, there were some differences in how that process went. So what we learned there was that we could apply this formula in varied institutions, but we also learned that there needed to be some flexibility and some accounting for the individuality of each institution, and a little bit more flexibility. And then also just the need to broaden the focus of research. We looked at just one very small area, grants, but obviously the library has a lot of areas where it supplies value, and a lot of possible returns for its services and products. And so with Lib-Value, phase 3, what the idea was originally was to broaden this focus to look at multiple areas of value. And originally the idea was just to test it in 3 universities, so it was going to be fewer institutions and a broader focus. But in the event, there's been so much interest in the project that we are now expanding the number of institutions that are going to be involved with it. And who knows where that's going to end up in the end, but it's rapidly growing. Now, in broadening the focus, what do I mean by that? Well, we wanted to look at, it's really a pretty ambitious goal, to look at, oh, okay, thank you. We wanted to look at how does the library serve the university's mission and goals in all possible ways. The ambitious kind of idea was to articulate all areas of value and return on investment in the library. And to do this for a couple of purposes in mind. One, to allow the libraries to better assess where to spend their money and what's bringing return and what's maybe they could cut out. And then also to allow them to articulate their value to the university in these kind of tough times where it's really necessary to justify your existence sometimes, to give them some tools to show, hey, we have some concrete value. There are some concrete ways that we can really affect the success of this university. Take the library as a whole, that's a pretty big kind of breakdown. So we started looking at it, breaking it down a little bit, and we came up with 3 main functional areas where the library can serve the university's mission: teaching and learning, research, and then social and professional returns or outcomes. And those are pretty broad, right? So we broke it down a little bit more and started looking at the different areas where these things can be affected by the library. And an important thing to mention is that we also wanted to be conscious of looking at all of the stakeholders in all of these areas that we study. And by stakeholders, I mean anybody who's got a stake in the library. So that's faculty, students, administration, the community, and we've got a couple other ideas about stakeholders, but we wanted to look at each of these functional areas, each of these sub-areas, and how they affect each of the different stakeholders. And it may be different in some cases. In some cases, different stakeholders are going to have different value for the services and the products that are provided. And so then we break it down further, and you get into kind of the nitty-gritty. And this slide is very much not comprehensive, obviously. These are not all of the areas that we're going to look at, but it's sort of an idea to show you where we're going with it. And that's the very fast-flying overview of this project. So I'll tell you a little bit now very quickly about, and I think we're about to restart the, it tried to do that on me too a couple of times. I'll tell you very quickly about the first areas that we're going to start looking at that we're already working on, developing some projects. And these are in no particular order, and I'm going to give you a very, very brief overview. So there are more specifics out there, but I won't get to them. The first area that we're going to look at is ebooks. And this is going to take place at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And it's going to use a study currently being done by Elsevier. It's Elsevier eBooks Use and Value Study. And they're going to collaborate there and take some of the data that Elsevier is collecting already at UIUC and expand on it and look at what are some of the values of ebooks to the university, who's using them, how are they using them, how are different publishers, different subject areas, what's the value there. Another area that we're looking at is information commons, as Martha had mentioned earlier. And we're looking at that, as Martha did touch on, from a couple of different angles. We're very interested in the library as place and how that affects, for instance, the student experience as a whole, their whole experience at the university, how that affects kind of their perception of the university. And we've got some interesting leads on that already. So it's very exciting to me what we're doing there. And then another area that ties in to the information commons, and obviously a lot of these do overlap. We're going to look at teaching and learning, and this is, as I said, this is no means everything that we're doing. This is where we're starting. But One of the areas that we're developing some experimental design studies with is looking at how does library instruction affect outcomes for students and learning, and also how does it affect teaching outcomes and maybe productivity for teachers and success for teachers and instructors. We are going to replicate a study that Don King and Carol Tenneper did at the University of Pittsburgh in 2002 and expand on it. And this is looking at journal collections specifically and how those collections affect the productivity and success of both faculty and students. And we are also going to look at special collections. We're looking at a lot of different areas. I think this is a particularly interesting area that maybe hasn't been looked at a whole lot in what is the value of special collections to the university? Is there a value in general goodwill from the community and from the academic community? Is there a value in maybe spurring donations from alumni and the community? Is there a value in attracting faculty or students in special collections? So we're going to try to measure that, and we've got some interesting ideas for how to do that. And we also, Bruce Kingma at the University, or Syracuse University, has some very interesting ideas for measuring the economic, social, and environmental value of the library and doing a sort of more inclusive and broad-based look at everything. And he's also worked with several libraries in New York State, and so that comes into bringing in more partners to work with on this project. And then we also do have ARL, who has done a great job organizing this workshop and an earlier workshop at Midwinter. They're obviously working on project awareness, but they're also doing a lot more than that at ARL, looking at how to, as Martha mentioned, how to incorporate data that's already being collected from LibQual and Minds into the formulas that we're developing. And also, not quite yet, but in the future we'll be working on developing some web tools and some ways to make this really easy to use. And so you're saying that is not all areas of the library, right? No way, yeah. So in 3 years, how are we going to accomplish this ambitious goal of articulating all areas of value and ROI in the library? Well, kind of the final piece, maybe the first piece and the final piece of the puzzle, is a comprehensive bibliography of value and ROI literature that is being compiled by Rachel Fleming May and Crystal Sherline. And they're in the final stages of this. They've got close to 500 items, books, book chapters, articles, reports, websites. And this bibliography is going to be on our website. It's going to be in a fully searchable database, so anybody who's interested can go and search for whatever areas that they specifically want. But it's also going to be organized by the areas that we've defined, so that you'll be able to eventually go to our website and click on an area like ebooks, and it will take you to everything that our project does in this area, but also a pretty comprehensive bibliography of what anyone else has done, and kind of a summary of what's the best practices in those areas. And that is not up on the website yet. It will be there by the end of this summer, and the website is currently under development and going to be changing quite a bit. So I encourage you to keep an eye on that and check in with us. That is where I'm going to stop today. We are very interested in getting feedback, in hearing comments and questions and any kind of feedback from any of you. So I encourage you to email me or go through the website and let us know what you think about it. So thank you.